Hello all, welcome to Shadow Support Systems Tech Tips, a series in which we discuss basic tasks and also some advanced tasks later on, but right now we're focused on basic needs, whereas I will go in and show you how to do basic tasks. If you're an IT professional, been doing this a while, obviously these tasks are something you probably do on a daily basis. Totally understand that. This specific basic content's not really for you. Later on, we're going to do a little bit more advanced ideas and take it a step further. But for right now, this series is going to be devoted to specifically some that are new to a computer or basically have a lack of experience when it comes to IT or a computer. Now, I'm one of those people where I like to know how to do a lot of things. I like to learn as much as possible. I like to be well versed and well educated on what I'm actually dealing with. So I deal with a computer every day for work, so it just makes sense for me to want to know things and educate myself as much as possible. This basic series will definitely help with that. So on today's episode 1, we're going to discuss network connectivity and how to figure out what's connected to your network. And so the reason why that's important is because if you have internet at home or Wi-Fi, it can slow down from time to time. It could be a lot of things that are causing that, from issues with the actual provider or ISP, but there could also be something inside your network that's hogging the bandwidth, as far as big downloads, streaming 4K video, etc., etc. So today, we're just going to go into how to see what's connected to your local environment. And so part of that is going to be done in a couple different programs. The first program, which is already installed on the Windows device, we're using Windows 11 today, but this specific program is installed on all Windows machines, and that is the command prompt. So we're going to click on the search bar, we're going to type in command prompt, and it's going to be the top option under best match. When you open up this application, this is what it looks like. Some of the bordering may look different depending on the version of Windows that you're using. And we're going to use a pretty simple command to locate your IP address of your machine. That information will be pretty helpful when it comes to locating locating what's connected to your network. And so that command is going to be ipconfig. And so what we're looking for is the actual IP address of your machine, and we're looking for the default gateway, just so we have that information. Once we have that information, you're going to need an application to actually go out and see what's connected to your network. Now, in some work networks, this may not work because they may have certain features turned off to where you cannot, quote-unquote, discover what else is on the network. But for my machine, I've allowed proper access so we can see what's connected to my home network. And so we're going to use an application called Advanced IP Scanner. And so this is really helpful whenever you have a brand new printer or a brand new device you've added to the network, and you need to either get access to that device via IP address, so you have like a URL that you're going to have to go to, or there's many options of why you would need to, many reasons why you need to do that, but printers are the most common because once you plug them into the network, they get their own IP address through a process called DHCP, which means it's automatically assigned an IP address. Now, the reason why we needed the IP address of the machine is because we're looking for the first 3 sets of numbers here. And so 192.168.0.1 is going to be the beginning of this subnet, and it's going to end at the gateway in this case, which is .254. So to correctly identify what's located on this subnet only, which is going to be the 192.168.0.1 through .254, you're going to search for that subnet. Now, it is possible to have multiple subnets. I don't want to make it complicated. In a business situation or a commercial use, you may have a number of subnets that are applied to your specific environment. In a home environment, typically, I won't say always, because there are lots of techies that take it to a next extent, the furthest extent, but for generally speaking, most homes are only going to have one subnet. So you're going to enter that information in for the full range of the subnet, which is 0.1 through 254, and you're going to click the little play button, which is going to search. So we're just going to wait here for a second while it goes through and searches all the devices connected to this environment. So you can already see items starting to pop up. You see my little Fire Stick I have there. There's going to be a couple items that are named appropriately. Obviously, I don't go through and rename the Prime Fire Sticks and Roku TVs, etc., etc. But you can kind of start to see the trend here, where there's a number of devices connected to the internet at any given time. You've got your default gateway, which is, we already discovered that. The .254, that's going to be my gateway. That's going to be what's providing the IP addresses for my home internet connection. So what we hope to achieve by getting this information is locating exactly what's connected to your specific network. And so the reason why that's important is because if you have no password protection on your Wi-Fi, or you have no security and it's open, some of your neighbors or someone could literally drive by your house and connect to your internet. And so that's problematic, because in the real world, not everybody has good intentions, right? So you have the opportunity where somebody could actually drive by your house, log into your internet, and they could do things that are not awesome, right? So they could do things that are bad. They could break the law. They could commit some crime. And so what happens is that information will likely, in that situation, will go back to your IP address, because that's where they're logged into the internet. So we have a couple different ideas of what an IP address is, right? So you have a private IP address, which is what you see here, which is what's locally in my home. And then you have what is a public IP address, which is what the world sees you as far as your IP address at your router. So to go into a little bit of a brief explanation, you have your public and private IP address. So your edge device that you use to connect to the internet, modem, router, etc., that device is facing the internet, and so that device has to have its own IP address. Now, in those cases, it will not have a 192.168 address. It will have a much different address. But that is the address that your provider assigns to your device, which is what you're using to access the internet. And then because of address translation and being able to use the internet in your home, you take that one IP address provided to you and you address multiple IPs inside your environment, so that way your devices within your environment can access the internet. And so the reason why it's important is because you need to know the difference. Now you can see that there's a Nintendo product, which I believe that's my son's Switch, that's connected to the internet. Intel corporate, that could be an Intel card inside the machine, and that's going to be the MAC address for it. I like this specific application because it shows you what is connected to the internet internally, what's actively connected. And so in this specific application, there are blue squares here. That's to show you those devices are actively connected to the internet right now as we speak. So a good example of that would be the printer, right? So as an IT guy, I can tell you I don't like printers. Can't stand them. They are the bane of our existence. They're they can be annoying. They like to randomly not work, which is super awesome. But the really cool thing about printers is that, from a technological standpoint, you can log into that printer, right? So now that if I did not know the IP address of the printer connected to my network, I can use this application to locate where the printer is as far as the IP address goes. Obviously, the physical location is something a little bit different, but it's pretty cool that I can go in here and say, okay, well, I have a Brother L2340 Delta series printer, and it is located at this IP address. And so what that means is I can pull up this IP address. It's 192.168.0.115. And so I can take that information and go to that printer, and so I can see a lot of information, a lot of useful information off that printer just by going to the IP. And so in this situation, I'm not configured the password for this printer. It's relatively new, or new to me. The whole idea is to be able to understand what's connected, why it's connected, and obviously if there's something you see that you don't understand or that you don't recognize, you can always try to go to the IP address of that device or research it on the internet. If you don't know what TP-Link is, it's good to know that information. So in this specific scenario, all we're trying to get you to know how to do is to be able to distinguish what's connected to your network and what's not, because it's important. And wired connections will show up here too, not just wireless connections, not just Wi-Fi. So in this episode, we've discussed how to get your IP address, which is going to be the command prompt. We're going to use the specific command called ipconfig, and that will give you your active IP address for your machine that you are on currently. And then that also lets you see what subnet you're connected to. And so based off the information we saw here, we were able to see that our IP address ends in .0.121, and our default gateway, which is issuing our addresses via DHCP, in the home environment ends in .254. So to be able to properly see what's connected to our subnet, we needed to download the program called Advanced IP Scanner, which is a free piece of software. And you were to search on the subnet 192.168.0.1-254. And so what that's going to do is search all IP addresses between .0.1 and .0.254. This information is super helpful in troubleshooting, especially not just in the residential realm, but the commercial environment as well. You know, I've been in IT well over a decade, and I can tell you I've used this specific piece of software hundreds of times to locate information for a connected device that I'm trying to locate or see if it's connected or verify connectivity. That's super important in what we do. So with that, this will conclude episode 1 of our Tech Tips for Shadow Support Systems. I appreciate you watching. Please continue to check back, subscribe, like and subscribe to the channel. We're going to continue to put out information that we believe is truly helpful to the home, especially home users. We will get into some more advanced topics later, but this is super important to understand what's connected to your network at all times, because again, if someone is connected to your network and they do something that's illegal or against the law, then that information can come back to you, and because that's how they track that information, is they can track your IP address, and then of course, if that IP address is assigned to you via your ISP, then you are going to be the first person they question in relation to that behavior. Not to say that you're going to get in trouble for it for sure, but you will be the first person they question in the event that occurs. So if you do have any other ideas about some how-to videos that you could benefit from, I'm definitely all ears. I appreciate everyone's time. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day.